I like Brock Purdy, but if the Niners are going to win this Super Bowl, Christian McCaffrey has to be the MVP. I think if the Niners are going to win this Super Bowl, they got to use McCaffrey early and often because they got to get a lead in this game. And they talked about it this week in Santa Clara. Whatever chip they brought to the second half against Detroit, they got to have that in the first half against Kansas City because I'm telling you right now, there's not going to be any comeback against the Chiefs.
That's Sal Paolantonio. He was in Vegas this morning with Murph and Marcus, who will be in this very spot tomorrow on a Tuesday. Thanks for joining us. We're on Media Row, Pop and Lund, live at the Mandalay Bay Convention Center, getting ready for Super Bowl 58. The big mural is up. Niners, Chiefs. David Lombardi from The Athletic. He is brilliant. Checking out the numbers. Joins us courtesy of the Uma guest line at Lombardi himself. Make sure you follow him. Joins us courtesy of the Uma guest line. What's happening, bro?
Is it a guest line? I'm here in person this time.
Yeah, it's just a sponsored thing. You know.
What a clear line.
Big deal.
Sounds like you're right here.
Yeah, better than that. I know I drop a lot in the cell service.
Nah. You're always like swimming in a lake or you're somewhere. You know, you're not in a conventional spot, but this is perfect.
Yeah, no big bodies of water.
Yeah.
Well, actually, Hoover Dam, Lake Mead is not far away.
My hotel room is right on a lake out in Henderson.
Yes,
Come
you guys are out
there.
at the lake. You guys are 16 miles away. When we were here in August, we went up and took a trip after the 49ers.
I saw the pictures.
Yeah, the Hoover Dam. Yeah, it was cool. So
right after one of the joint practices.
It was in between the practice and the game, which that game wasn't worth much, right? That was
Jake missed a couple of field goals, which may be something to talk about. Your travels, I was following you on social yesterday. Niner plane I was worried about the wind speed just taking off. Kind of now.
Was it scary too?
Well, they gave us the barf bag speech, which I've never had in any flight ever. I'm like, what? She's like, well, the vomit bag is right in front. I'm like, what?
You know things are bad when you get the vomit bags.
Where's the barf bag?
I honestly thought that it was over, like my life, for about 10 minutes.
What?
Yes.
In flight?
Yes. We get out on the runway at SFO, and the plane starts shaking while we're sitting on the runway. Like the wings
on the runway?
On the runway. I'm like, okay, there's no way. This guy's just
Don't put the flaps down.
Bro, can I get off that ride?
This guy is just... This guy
was rocking on the tarmac?
It was rocking on the runway as we pulled out there.
That's
the
a
wind
song,
gusted.
isn't it? Rocking on the tarmac?
Yeah, and I thought the pilot was going to just abort the mission and go back to the gate.
Smoke him if you got him.
Yeah. As soon as I
picked a bad week to stop sniffing glue.
Right. As soon as I thought that, the engines just revved and we picked up speed, and it was the scariest takeoff in the first 10 minutes. The elevation changes. I travel a lot, and that to me was too much.
Now you got here before us.
Yeah.
I got a picture of David when we landed, John. He's one of the Elvis impersonators. Well, that's him in the red. Is that you, David?
Yeah, that's me.
That's
and
him right
look,
there.
I got a video of you when
Where
you
am
landed.
Oh, getting off the plane?
Yeah, getting off the plane.
Oh, wow.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah, that's Greg.
This is where I walked right into the pole, I think.
Yeah, you were down looking at your phone.
I walked right over to the Elvis impersonators.
You were big league media.
I walked right to the gate to say hi. I thought it was more of a photog thing. I didn't think you would be there yourself.
I try to cover everything.
You do. You are thorough.
I got myself a standby on an earlier flight to make it because we were delayed. Yeah. And my suitcase went on the later flight.
Oh, that's the worst.
But then I was able to pick it up at the airport, so we're good.
So how are you feeling about the week? Just what are your first impressions of a Super Bowl in Vegas?
This is crazy. It feels like the NFL Combine on steroids in that you have got the whole convention set up, but in the Combine it's Indianapolis, and here you walk out and it's Vegas, right? So it's, I think ultimately once the NFL accepted sports gambling and all that, then this just makes too much sense to host a Super Bowl. I mean, what a spectacle.
So what's your game plan for opening night tonight? Do you go to Kyle, the heavy hitters, Trent Williams, or do you go off to the side and talk to Mitch Wishnowsky?
Yeah,
how do you handle that?
Opening night is more of a fan event, I feel, than a media event, especially if you want to talk to the big names. You're going to have hundreds of people crowded around Kyle. The assistant coaches are also available, which is nice because they're not usually available during the course of the regular season. So they'll be kind of wandering, ambling around on the floor, and you could usually get some of those guys one-on-one. So I definitely want to take the path less traveled.
Right.
That's for sure.
How about the Kansas City coaches?
Yeah.
Spend some time with Spags going into this game?
I had never heard him speak before. He's got
Seriously?
the Boston accent. Yeah. I didn't.
Spagnola.
I heard him talking about Brock Purdy this week.
Yeah.
Very complimentary. So,
I think by the end of the week, I'd love to know what you think of this. It's mostly the talking head shows that make this big deal about Brock Purdy and go up and down based on his performance week in and week out. We've talked with Brock a million times with you. But I think the national media is going to fall in love with him by Friday. I'm talking about even before the game. I just don't think enough, even though the story is out there and Peter King's got the piece from traveling with Kyle this week, I think by Friday everyone's going to understand, because I don't know how this could be for a team as popular as the 49ers, but I just don't think the story has resonated with enough people yet, from the arm injury to 262 to how they got the pick to just what kind of guy he is, because I think they're going to finally, on a national level, get to know who Brock Purdy is. And I'm not even talking about the player. They're going to fall in love with the guy. And I don't think enough of that's been made. I know we do locally, we know that, but not nationally.
Yeah, because we follow it on a day-to-day basis, and so we understand the flow of things and how impressive everything's been. We look at the data, which is staggering, right? I think that because he's not a flashy guy, somebody that's not following him on a day-in, day-out basis just puts all these stereotypes on him. Oh, well, he's on a flashy roster, right? They've got a lot of skill players that are very talented. He must just be managing everything. But then when it really showed in the NFC Championship game, that escape when Melifonwu blitzed and he got out to the left. I mean, that's...
Kyle said he was prepping for second and 20, right?
There are probably three quarterbacks in the league that I could see making that play. Mahomes, Josh Allen, and...
Lamar.
Maybe Lamar, but the strength that Purdy showed in his lower body there, it wasn't just
and
the
then
speed.
To put a ball on the sideline,
yeah.
which I don't know if Lamar does that right.
But it wasn't just the speed. There was a physicality to the way that he was able to
I thought he was sacked. I said he got sacked.
Exactly.
He spun out of it. So the bottom line is he and Christian are going to be finalists for the MVP at Honors on Thursday. Neither one's going to win. I do want to see what the order is going to be, but Sal Pal was talking about he thinks McCaffrey's going to be the MVP of the game. When I look at Tampa Bay, maybe I was just visiting with Rich Gannon over on Sirius XM NFL Radio, but I've been thinking about it anyway, and then he kind of backed me on it. They remind me a little of the Tampa Bay 2002 defense that John Lynch was on. They were really strong in the secondary. The linebacking level was so fast. I think Tampa's safeties are better than Kansas City's, and they try to protect their safeties by playing a lot of too high. But the one weakness with that Tampa defense, you could run on them. Now, Barrett Robbins goes AWOL. The Raiders changed their game plan, running on Kansas City. And you saw Buffalo do it in the first half. And specifically, David, they ran right at Chris Jones,
yep.
who is I know Chase Young has a lot of bad tape from the last game. Watching Chris Jones all weekend, my eyes are red, bloodshot Chiefs. He is alarming in his lack of effort. He just stands straight up and down, does not bend his knees, he does not play hard. Now, if he's rushing the quarterback, he's coming hard. So you get into this so well with all the stats and the video, you watch everything. Run at Chris Jones, is that kind of what
Absolutely.
You want to do?
So pass rush productivity amongst interior defenders, defensive tackles, he's number one. He's above Aaron Donald this year. So Chris Jones is the best at that. This is a bottom 5 run defense. All the advanced metrics. We say that the 49ers have a problem against the run that affects their ability to pass rush because they're not in good situations. That problem is potentially even bigger for Kansas City because they don't, on top of the run defense struggles, they don't have the pass rush that the 49ers do outside of Chris Jones, right? So I think that absolutely the best way to neutralize Chris Jones is to run right at him. I think that's the best way to neutralize Aaron Donald, although Donald plays respectably against the run. I don't think that Chris Jones does. So that's going to be a pressure point that the 49ers have to test. I will say that Kansas City is going to try to take that away. They'll probably gamble a little bit more in the box. Yeah, blitzing.
Blitz more.
Yes, run blitz more, and then it's going to be up to Purdy and also McCaffrey because it's where the adaptability comes in, right? If Deebo Samuel can run and he could go out for a pass pattern, same with Christian McCaffrey, hell, even Kittle has done some of that, then that's where Kyle has to outfox Spagnuolo.
Yeah, I'm amazed in the AFC Championship game that, 16 total runs by the Ravens, and only 6 were by running backs. Kyle's not going to make that mistake. I don't know what Todd Monken was thinking with, hey, they're thinking this, we're going to do that kind of a thing. But that's not going to be Kyle. I mean, every time Kansas City has lost this year, it's 30-plus runs. You got to run.
Yeah.
But what do you do when they load the box and run blitz? There are a couple of snaps where he had 8 and 9 in the. I think the key thing to this game is they play a lot of two safety high. To me, if you're playing the Niners, it is tough to stop the run with a 7-man box, especially this run defense. Are they going to be able to play two? Because they like to protect their safeties. They're not great in coverage. Are they going to be forced to bring the safety down and go to an 8 and sometimes 9-man box?
And that, I still remember a conversation with Mike McDaniel a few years ago when he was with the 49ers. And the basic gist of their decisions to either pass or run, or if there are two safeties high or if there's one safety. And if they bring that one safety down, that's when the quarterback has to execute. That's when they're probably going to throw. Now, that's a general rule. That's not.
That's where he cans or Oscars the play.
Yeah, exactly. So if they're bringing a safety down, showtime for Brock Purdy. It's as simple as that, and it's been very impressive this year when he's faced that challenge.
And going back to the Minnesota playoff game, the first playoff game in 2019, and I know when Jimmy threw that interception to Eric Hendricks against the Buzz linebacker, Kyle backed off and he ran. But really, and Tim and I were watching it, it was Harrison Smith. If Harrison Smith came down in the box, they were going to throw the ball. If Harrison Smith, their Minnesota safety number 22, stayed high, they were going to run. And we kept saying, I called it pre-snap. They're playing two safeties high, they're going to run. And they ran it. And I'm like, Mike Zimmer, you're stubborn, dude. You got to bring 22 down in the box, or Tevin Coleman in that game, or I'm going to trample. So I think very simply is Spags going to bring one of those safeties down in the box. If he doesn't, John, how do they stop the Niner running game?
I don't think they do. I mean, that's
he will, though. He will.
Well, I'm sure they'll run blitz.
Yeah, they'll bring the linebackers
but to David's
through.
point, I mean, they're 4-6 a carry. I mean, they give something up and they give up the run. And like I said, I'm watching the Baltimore game going, what are you doing? I think they just tried to outsmart them. I think it was idiotic.
Or they could just say, we're not going to lose to the run game. And any NFL defense, the worst NFL defense of all time, could stop the run if they dedicate enough to it. And
but you can't do that against this team, can you?
Yeah, then you do that, and the 49, I wrote about them and the greatest show on turf. They're putting up the same explosiveness numbers through the air as that team. And that's why, because the run game gets so much respect.
Because if you're going to do that, then you're going to single everybody outside. And look, they have good corners. They do. They have 3 good corners. But I still think that if you're going to do that the majority of the game and say, we're going to stop the run, I think more times than not, the Niners are going to beat those corners.
NFL Network replayed, 30-minute version of every single Super Bowl ever played. I watched every single one just about. And I mean, literally. And it just came back to me, and I know what he did. Belichick beat the holy hell out of Marshall Faulk. I mean, just beat him up. With Christian, he's a little bit different. Faulk is so thick and big, you don't think you can lean on him. Do you see Spagnuolo he's going to spy. I think he's going to send somebody to go get McCaffrey. I'm not sure who it's going to be. But just beat him up, pummel him in the ground every snap.
Well, that's the beauty of having Deebo Samuel on your roster, right? If you're going to dedicate, that's the thing. They have so many skill position weapons, and when they're all healthy, if you send that kind of extra attention at one of these guys, Deebo Samuel's a superstar too. And that's why Brock Purdy's job is so important. And people use the term point guard as a pejorative, but it's not, because it's not easy to make those decisions in real time. And he knows where to go with the football to avoid the dynamic that you're talking about. If there's a ton of focus on McCaffrey and he's going to get the crap beaten out of him, we're seeing Brock Purdy make the right decision and go to Deebo Samuel, right? He understands the game, and he understands the flow of the chess match. And this is going to be a chess match back and forth.
Pejorative?
Yeah, look that up. I was thinking the same thing. That's a Stanford word.
Where'd you go to school?
That's a Stanford word.
Yeah, when you...
what? It's my pejorative. What the hell's pejorative? How do you spell it?
That you say that like in a negative way.
Right. I understood it, but I never...
Yeah.
Hey,
It's a good word.
It's a good word.
I'm dropping a pejorative during the game Sunday, Jim.
David Lombardi's with us. We're in Vegas at Media Row. To Sal Palantonia's point, long time ago, coming into the segment, they can't. I mean, they could, but as he suggested, it would be better if they didn't get off to the start they did against Green Bay. If they didn't get off, obviously, to the start they did against Detroit. So how do they avoid what we've seen in the last 2 playoff games?
I thought that the interior rush was in Purdy's lap in the first half. And one adjustment the 49ers made, they went to a bit of tempo in the second half. A couple guys in the locker room told me they thought that was a big deal as far as diffusing the pass rush, staying ahead of, just staying a step ahead of that passer. Because I think that's the 49ers' weakness. I don't think that Jake Brendel has been particularly good, especially down the stretch. And pass protection, obviously, they've made a switch at right guard. You might want to move Purdy off the spot early. I know Kyle doesn't like to do that. Kyle wants everything choreographed, and he likes to get into rhythm early. But if it's the difference between an acceptable start and one where you're falling behind, and Chris Jones is blowing plays up early, maybe you do have to move Purdy off of his spot.
I think that's a great idea. You don't have to do it the whole game. You just do it a little bit to just kind of mix things up.
He's going to be he's going to be over Feliciano, and if he quits on his pass rush, he doesn't always, but he does some. He just gets his hands up, and you saw it over and over and over again. I thought they would just go turbo, no huddle the entire second half, and they were down 24-7. They jumped into it, then they got out of it. Do the Niners snap the ball the slowest of any team? And for not quite Jim Harbaugh's Niners, who could barely get it off in time, but they very seldom go into a no-huddle attack, go turbo.
Yeah, they do it when they need it to jumpstart something. Not necessarily, I don't think the clock was an issue yet at that point in the game. They still have a lot of time, but they just needed to switch something up. Because if you go back and watch the tape, Purdy was missing to the perimeter, and everybody was like, why is he missing? Well, it's because he's getting hit, including the interception plays, getting hit on these throws. So I think that they just wanted to diffuse the pass rush, kind of tilt the field in their favor. They were playing the first half uphill. They started playing downhill, and then they turned it into more of a ball control game, which was funny to see because they were still behind, but or it was tied, it was close. But at that point, they had all the momentum, and they felt good bleeding the clock, I think, as that game wore on.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for taking the time. We appreciate it, and we'll see you all week and at all the events. But thanks for the insight all season, not just now.
Thank you.